3 days after my father died, I thought the hardest part of my life had already happened. I was wrong. My father had been the strongest person I knew. He had built his business from nothing, worked for decades, and always told me that money was only useful when it gave you freedom, not when it gave you control over other people. After his funeral, I returned home exhausted and heartbroken. That was when my husband, Daniel, walked into the kitchen, placed his resignation letter on the counter, and said something I never expected to hear. "I'm done working." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" He smiled like everything was perfectly normal. "Why should I keep working? Your father left you enough money. Your inheritance is more than enough for both of us." I felt something inside me go cold. "My inheritance is not your paycheck, Daniel." His smile disappeared. "We're married." "Yes," I said quietly. "But that doesn't mean you get to decide what happens to my father's money." He became irritated. "You're acting like I'm some stranger." Before I could answer, his mother arrived. Apparently, Daniel had already told her about my inheritance. She hugged me, pretending to comfort me. Then she said, "Sweetheart, this is actually a blessing. You shouldn't have to worry about working anymore." I didn't respond. Daniel looked at his mother and said, "I've already decided. I'll take care of everything." His mother smiled. Then Daniel said the words that shocked me most. "I'm going to buy Mom a house." I turned toward him. "With whose money?" He laughed nervously. "With ours." "No," I said. His mother immediately changed her expression. Daniel became angry. "Why are you making this difficult?" "Because my father just died," I replied. "And you're already spending money you haven't even received." Then his sister called. Daniel put the phone on speaker. His sister started talking excitedly about a new house she wanted. "I found one for around 200,000, she said. Daniel answered confidently, "Don't worry. I'll give you the money." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My father had been dead for 3 days, and my husband was already distributing his estate. I didn't argue. I simply said, "Fine." Daniel looked surprised. "Fine. Yes. Talk all you want." His mother smiled. She thought I had surrendered. His sister laughed and started discussing houses. I stayed silent. But there was one thing they didn't know. My father had left instructions with his estate attorney, and I had not yet met with him. The next morning I received a phone call. "Is this Emily Carter?" "Yes. My name is Michael Harris. I'm your father's estate attorney." My heart started beating faster. He continued, "I need you to come to my office as soon as possible. There are several matters concerning your father's estate that you need to know about." I asked, "Is something wrong?" There was a pause. "It's not exactly wrong, but I think you should hear it from me before anyone else." I drove to his office that afternoon. When I entered, he closed the door behind me. Then he placed a folder on the desk. "Your father knew something like this might happen." I stared at him. What did he know? Michael opened the folder. "Your father specifically instructed that the inheritance remain under your sole control." I felt my chest tighten. He continued. "He also created a separate trust." "For whom?" "For you." I couldn't speak. Michael slid another document toward me. "This trust contains assets worth significantly more than the inheritance you were expecting." I looked at him in disbelief. "How much?" He gave me the number. Froze. It was several times larger than anything Daniel had imagined. Then Michael said something that made everything suddenly make sense. "Your father also left a letter for you." My hands trembled as I opened it. The first line said, "My daughter, if you're reading this, someone may already be trying to spend what I worked my entire life to protect." I started crying. My father had known. He had seen something in Daniel that I had refused to see. The letter continued. "Never let anyone convince you that my money is more important than your dignity." Then came the final instruction. "If your husband quits his job within 30 days of my death, Do not give him access to any inheritance funds. Instead, give this letter to my attorney. I stared at the page. Daniel hadn't just quit his job. He had done it 3 days after my father died. Exactly as my father predicted. That evening I returned home. Daniel was sitting on the couch with his mother and sister. His sister was showing them pictures of the house she wanted. Daniel looked up. So, did you finally meet the attorney? Yes. And smiled. The estate is complicated. He frowned. What does that mean? It means you should probably go back to work. His face changed instantly. What? I calmly placed my father's letter on the table. Daniel picked it up. He read the first few lines. Then his face went pale. His mother grabbed the letter. She read it. His sister stopped smiling. For the first time, nobody talked about the house. Nobody talked about the $200,000. And nobody talked about quitting jobs. Daniel finally looked at me. You knew. No, I said. My father knew. Then I stood up. You thought my inheritance was enough for both of us. I looked directly into his eyes. But my father left me something far more valuable than money. What? Proof of who people really are. That night, Daniel learned that my father's money was never his to spend. And I learned that sometimes losing a parent reveals something you never expected to discover about the person standing beside you. The estate attorney had called. But that call didn't just change my inheritance. Changed my entire life.